At the end of the 3rd century BC, one of the strangest expeditions in ancient history began. A fleet of ships left the coast of China, sailing east into the vast waters of the unknown sea. On board were sailors, craftsmen, hundreds of young men and women, and large supplies of food and tools. Their mission sounded extraordinary. They had been sent to search for the secret of immortality, but many historians believe that the real purpose of this expedition may have been something very different. It may have been a carefully prepared escape. The leader of this fleet was a man named Xu Fu, and the ruler who sent him was the most powerful man in China, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor. After defeating the rival states of the Warring States period, Qin Shi Huang unified China under a single empire. For the first time in history, a vast territory was ruled by one emperor. His armies were unmatched. His authority seemed absolute. His commands shaped the lives of millions of people. Yet even the most powerful ruler in the world could not escape one simple truth. Every human life ends, and Qin Shi Huang feared death. As he grew older, that fear became stronger. The emperor became increasingly obsessed with the idea of eternal life. According to ancient legends, far across the Eastern Sea there were mysterious islands, places where immortals lived, places where the secret of eternal life could be found. These islands were said to be Penglai, Fangjiang, and Yingzhou. Some claimed that magical herbs grew there. Others believed the immortals themselves guarded the secret of eternal life. In the emperor's court, alchemists and magicians began to appear. They promised to create powerful elixirs. They spoke of ancient secrets. Some even claimed they knew the path to the islands of immortality. Among these men, one figure gained the emperor's attention. His name was Xu Fu. Xu Fu told the emperor that he could find the legendary islands. If he were given ships and resources, he would sail east and search for the elixir of immortality. The emperor accepted the proposal. Soon preparations began for an extraordinary expedition. Ships were built, supplies were gathered, a fleet was assembled, and Xu Fu set sail toward the Eastern Sea. But the expedition did not succeed. After some time, Xu Fu returned to the imperial court. He explained that the fleet had encountered enormous sea creatures. According to his story, these monsters guarded the approach to the islands and prevented the ships from landing. The emperor did not immediately punish him, but doubt began to grow. More and more alchemists were exposed as frauds. Some had taken imperial rewards and quietly disappeared. Others had made promises they could never fulfill. Gradually, Qin Shi Huang began to suspect that he had been deceived. Historical records describe a sudden investigation inside the court. Several alchemists were arrested. Some were executed. The atmosphere in the palace became tense and dangerous. It was in this moment that Xu Fu made another request. He claimed that the first expedition had failed because it was not properly prepared. But if the emperor would provide greater resources, he could attempt the voyage again. This time his demands were much larger. He asked for more ships, more supplies, more tools. He also requested hundreds of young men and women, and a large number of craftsmen. Officially, these people were meant to help build settlements once the expedition reached the islands. But some historians believe Xu Fu may have had another reason. By now, he must have realized that the emperor's patience was running out. If another expedition failed, the consequences could be severe, possibly fatal. Perhaps Xu Fu understood that the safest place for him was far away from the emperor's court. So preparations for the second voyage began. Ships were constructed. Grain was loaded. Young men and women were selected. Craftsmen prepared tools and equipment. Soon the fleet was ready. Once again, the ships left the coast of China. Their sails filled with wind as they moved slowly toward the eastern horizon. This time, Xu Fu never returned. After this voyage, his name disappears from the official records of the Qin Empire. No message came back. No report reached the emperor. And the fate of the expedition remains unknown. Over the centuries, many stories have tried to explain what happened. One popular theory claims that Xu Fu eventually reached the islands of Japan and settled there with his followers. In several places in Japan, local traditions still connect their origins to the arrival of Xu Fu. Another possibility is that the fleet stopped at islands somewhere in the East China Sea. Over time, the expedition may simply have vanished from the records of history. And of course, some legends still claim that Xu Fu truly reached the mythical mountains described in ancient stories. But history offers no clear answer. What we do know is that the emperor who sent those ships never found the immortality he desired. Only a few years later, during one of his imperial tours, Qin Shi Huang suddenly fell ill. Far from his capital, the first emperor of China died, and the powerful empire he created would soon begin to collapse. Xu Fu's fleet disappeared into the Eastern Sea, and the emperor's dream of eternal life vanished into history. And Xu Fu was never seen again. History never told us where he went. But if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to Imperial Absurdity.